75-yard, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. 11-yard pass to Cruikshank, and then Federal running for 2. Now on the heroics by Cade McNamara to cap off the night when he has grabbed the Michigan quarterback position. It doesn't find him on the first half play of the drive. 9 seconds off the clock.
Okay, so we're going to walk you through the isosceles triangle systems and quadratics with everybody. So when you look at it, okay, obviously, all right, we have that congruent to that. So we have an isosceles triangle. So one of the things we can talk about is all right, that the two base angles are going to be congruent. So that means we can set y plus z equal to 10z. All right, so y plus z is equal to 10z. Right, so that's our first system. All right. Now, if we come up here, all right, if we come up here, let's erase that so we don't get confused. I'm trying to erase, guys. I'm trying to erase. I don't want you to erase. There we go. Okay. All right. So I also realize, okay, that angle and that angle, all right, are going to add up to 90 degrees. That's because this is the midpoint. It's an isosceles triangle, so it's perpendicular. So we'll get to that part where it's 90 in a second. Those two angles are complementary. They add up to 90. So my second system, why isn't it going back between them? Okay. So my second system, sorry about that, is y plus y, which is 2y plus z minus z equals 90. And then you will notice the z's are going to cancel out. 2y equals 90, y equals 45. Okay. All right. So now I come back to here. Get rid of that. Come back to here. And if y is 45, okay, that means 45 plus z equals 10z. 45 equals 9z. And z is equal to 5. Why does that help me? Well, if I look at it now, all right, oops, that angle now, all right, I can get great. Give me 1 second. So erase that. All right. So that means, like I said, I can now figure out this angle here, y plus z. All right. So that angle, by plugging in, is 50 degrees. So that's going to be my 50 degrees over there. All right. Which means this angle over here is also going to be 50 degrees. All right. So those are both 50. Up here, y minus z, 45 minus 5, instead of 50 is going to be 40. So both of those angles are going to be 40. Up. So I got those. Now the last part of this involves down here, the quadratic. Okay? X squared minus 8. And hopefully all of you identify that that's equal to 90 degrees. It's got to be perpendicular. So I'm going to add 8. X squared equals 98. And then x equals plus minus the square root of 98. All right. Well, hopefully we're going to work on this because we're beginning the Pythagorean theorem soon. So we'll review this. We look for perfect squares that go into 98. And that would be 49 because 49 goes into 98. Square root of 49 is 7. So my final simplified answer, including the correct plus minus symbol, would be 7 root 2. All right. So double check. Do we have all our angle measures? 50, 40, 40, 50. Yep, absolutely. That one's 90. We already knew that if you needed to fill that in. And then solving for x, we have x plus minus square root of 2. Okay, now I'm going to come over here. All right. And we're going to look at this and go, okay, now all three sides are congruent. All right. So all three sides are congruent. That means the triangle is equilateral, which means each angle, all right. Oh, fudge. Thank goodness. Okay. So that means each angle is 60 degrees. So the easiest way is take one of the linears relationships and set it equal to 60. So if I come here, okay, I'm going to take the angle up top 2b plus 53 and set that equal to 60. 2b equals 7 when I subtract the 53 from both sides, and b is going to equal 3.5. All right. And when I plug all that in, all right, I end up with 60 degrees for everything. All right, so each one of those is going to be 60 degrees. That's why we say there's different ways to do it. Make sure you know the best way to get it. Now I'm going to come down here, work on the next one. Okay. And notice it says any given information. All right. So you got to be able to look at a diagram and realize that they're giving you parallel lines. All right. So parallel lines mean a couple things. Number one, alternate interior angles. But for us, the setup, this is 90 degrees. And then that is the same side interior angle down there. So when I come back, all right, I'm going to take 4 times w plus y plus 3w minus 2y. Oops, that's not a y. And that's not 90 degrees based upon same side interiors being supplementary. Okay. Now, when we look at it, okay, we're going to use the distributive law. We're going to look at 4w. And well, we can distribute first to make sure we understand all the steps. W minus 2y. Now we're going to collect like terms. The 4w and the 3w is 7w. 4y minus 2y gives me minus 2y. nope. That's positive 2y. See, always check. 7w plus 2y equals 90 degrees. Now, at the same time, going back to the diagram. Why is that happening? Can I erase it? Oh, well. Let me erase the stuff. Let this stop. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to compare these two angles. The highlighter, that one and that one. Because that is congruent to that, triangle's isosceles. So I can go back. Okay, I can go back and take those two angles. All right. And I'm going to take 3w minus 2y, set that equal to 5w minus 10. All right. I'm looking at it, and the 2y is already negative, so I'm going to leave that alone. So I'm going to bring the 5w over, so negative 2w by subtracting 5w from both sides, minus 2y equals negative 10. All right. So that allows me to take those two equations. All right, so part 3 is the systems part. So I'm going to take the top one, which is 7w plus 2y equals 90. The one there, negative 2w minus 2y equal to negative 10. Okay. And when I subtract straight down, because that's what I'm going to do with elimination, all right, I'm going to realize the y's cancel out. So now I got 5w equals 80. And that gives me w equals 16. All right. So if w is 16, okay, I can plug it back in if I'd like to either equation. If I plug it in back in here, okay, I plug in the 16, I'm going to end up with negative 32. I'll leave it in green, since that's what we're working with, minus 2y equals negative 10. And when I solve for y, I'm going to add 32 to both sides, so negative 2y equals 22. And divide by negative 2y equals negative 11. Which is okay, because if I notice, I have a negative 11 here. All right. So that would turn that into a positive. 16 times 3 is 48. Negative 11 times negative 2, all right, is negative 22. Well, positive 22, because negative times negative turns it into a positive. And 48 plus 22 is going to give me 70. All right. Making both sides 70 degrees. So that helps me. And if I plug it in up here, W 16, Y is negative 11. 16 plus negative 11 is 5. 4 times 5 is 20. So boom. So in looking at it, all right, right here, these are going to be the 70-degree angles. That's going to be a 20-degree angle. Since these are alternate interiors, this one would also be 70 degrees, or sum of a triangle, either way you look at it. All right, if this is 70, that's 20. All right, because angles of a triangle. Well, hold on. We're going to walk through that. So I'm going to erase that real quick because I'm not positive. If I think about it, okay, are they telling us anything about that passing through the midpoint? The answer is no. So we're done. That's all we can really do. That's 20. All right, so that one's 20. But after that, we can't really do anything. because we don't know if that's the angle bisector. They don't really give us enough information, so we would be done. All right, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. Oh boy, trying to watch the Rutgers game while I'm doing this is difficult. Okay, so, all right, it says solve one or both quadratics below. All right, whatever it takes to get all the diagrams. Okay, so this is what we mean by that. Okay, if I look at it, those angles are congruent and those angles are congruent. So I'm going to focus on these because that y squared has a 12, that x squared has a 1. So that one's going to be easier to. Oh boy. I'm going to move this over so we can work on it. All right. Okay, so we can start all over. I'm going to take these expressions and set them equal to each other. So I'm going to set x squared plus 3 equal to 75 plus x at the equal sign. X squared minus x minus 72 equals 0. I get it in standard form. That factors into x minus 9, x plus 8 equals 0. That makes my two possible solutions 9 and negative 8. So we plug those both in. All right, we plug those both in. So if x is 9, 9 squared is 81, 81 plus 3 is 84. 75 plus 9 is 84. So that would make the angles in the diagram 84, 84, 6, believe it or not. I know it seems unfeasible, but if we plug it in, it's valid algebraically. And of course, the two in the middle are 90 degrees. Now, if I plug in negative 8, 75 plus negative 8 is 67. That works. Negative 8 squared is 64, so that works. 64 plus 3 is 67. Therefore, that would make both of those angles 67. The two angles up top, 23. And at that point would be 90 because obviously it's a 90-degree angle. All right. So there we go with that one. All right. Now I'm going to scroll on down to the last one, number 5. And number 5 talks about do what you can to find the angle measures and perimeter of the following triangle. Note, even though the x's and y's are being used for the different type of measure, they are the same value. All right, so that means these two angles, because the angle's bisected, and that's perpendicular, that means it's got to be an isosceles triangle. It has to be. If we went through, we could go through angle, side angle, and show it to you. That side's congruent, means the two triangles would be congruent by angle, side, angle. So I can take the two. So I got 3x minus 8, the side length up there, equal to 3y plus 1. And then down here, I have 6y plus 4, and that's equal to 5x. Okay, well, what am I going to do? Well, if I take this one up top, okay, 3x minus 3y equals 9. If I do anything with this one, it would be 5x minus 6y equals 4. All right. If I can go about it two ways. Method number 1 is elimination. All right. If I do elimination, I'm going to multiply this top one, the whole equation, both sides, by negative 2. All right. The result, if I multiply by negative 2, would be negative 6x plus 6y equal to negative 18. Then the one underneath would be 5x minus 6y equals 4. I add straight down. The y's cancel out. Now I got negative x equals negative 14, and x equals 14. All right? Thinking about that, if I plug that back in here, 5 times 14 would be 70. That would make negative 6y equal to negative 66, and y equal to 11. Okay, plugging those in, okay, that would give us angles up top of 6 times the y would be 66. 66 plus 4 is 70. 5 times the 14 is also 70, so that works. The bisected vertex angles would both be 20, and then the two angles at the perpendicular would obviously be 90. Okay, so that works. Now, if we wanted to do substitution, okay, okay, here's some thoughts. Number one, we take the negative 6x plus y equals negative 18, and we solve it for either x or y. All right, so if I looked at that, 6y would equal 6x minus 18. Y would then equal x minus 3. I would then come into one of the other two equations that has y and plug that in. So if I came up here to the 6x plus 4, all right, 6x plus 6y plus 4 would become 6 times x minus 3 plus 4. All right, which would be 6x minus 18 plus 4 minus 14. I would set that equal to this angle up there, which is 5x. All right. And then I'd bring that x over and that x over, and what a surprise, x would still be 14. And then you would solve other than that. Okay, so guys, I hope that helps. All right, I hope that works for everybody. And then message me with any questions you might have. Okay, that's all checked. All right, so there we go. We're good to go. Went through all of them. Okay, there's all the ones we did. Equilateral triangle, the perpendicular lines. Realizing you don't have to do both, you only have to do one because of triangle properties. And then down here, we went through all that. And that was the most basic one. All right, so again, I hope it helped. And if not, message me and we'll gladly try to rectify any issues you're still having. Be safe.